All right, well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today, Mrs. Smith. And we're really looking forward to having you come in and participate in the lab next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. My name is Grant, and I'm a research assistant here at the Umanath Memory and Aging Lab. If you're watching these videos, then congrats. That means you've been hired to work in one of the premier psychology labs at Claremont McKenna College. And you are ready to start learning how to call older adults. Now, the first step in getting older adults to come in and participate in our lab studies is to call them personally on their private phone numbers. Now, even though cold calling someone who you have never met before may seem scary and intimidating at first, there's really no reason to worry. If you approach these calls with the positive and friendly attitude, then who knows, you might even start enjoying them. The biggest thing to keep in mind when conversing with older adults is to speak as clearly as possible. This means taking your time, speaking slowly, and doing your best to enunciate. Even though it may sound a bit ridiculous hearing yourself speak in such a slow and deliberate manner, it makes a huge difference to the older adults. Before you start calling older adults, make sure that you have read through the provided Lab calling script. Now, before you start calling, make sure that you are familiar with each of the points of information that we're looking to collect on the phone call. The biggest thing to remember, though, that this is less of a script and more of a set of guidelines to facilitate your conversation with the older adult. That being said, it is okay to elaborate and go wherever the conversation takes you, so long as you gather each of the relevant points of information. There will be times, unfortunately, when things don't always go according to plan on the phone. Since our older adult database has been compiled in different phases over the past few years, some of our information may not be completely up to date. Here are some examples of some problems you might run into while calling older adults on the phone, and also some suggestions for the best ways that you, as a research assistant, can solve those problems. Hello, may I please speak to Mr. Jones?
Who is this? Why are you calling me at home? I don't want to buy anything.
Hello, Mr. Jones. My name is Grant Gilchrist, and I'm calling from Dr. Sharda Umanath's Memory and Aging Lab at Claremont McKenna College. I was calling to see if you might be interested in participating.
Why would I want to come and participate? I just had a surgery and I'm not supposed to leave the house for the next 3 weeks. Even if I were healthy, I have no desire to be subjected to a mind control test.
I am very sorry to hear that, Mr. Jones. I hope that you are feeling healthier soon, and have a nice day. In that situation, it was quite clear that Mr. Jones had no desire to come and participate in our study. He was obviously not in a great mood and seemed to be taking out some of his anger on me. If this happens to you when you start calling older adults, remember that it is you who is interrupting the older adult's afternoon, and sometimes they might not always be too happy about it. If the older adult's bad attitude remains even after you have introduced yourself and have stated why you were calling, then it's totally alright to just wish them a nice afternoon and hang up the phone. We are looking to recruit those older adults who actually want to participate. If they don't have a great attitude on the phone, then most likely they won't be very pleasant to have in the lab either. Make sure, after having an interaction as extreme as this one, that you follow up with our lab database and remove this older adult. Hello, may I please speak with Mr. Adams? My name is Grant Gilchrist, and I'm calling from Dr. Sharda Umanath's Memory and Aging Lab to see if Mr. Adams might be interested in participating in one of our psychology research studies.
Oh, Sonny. Mr. Adams passed away last year.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I really had no idea. I apologize for any inconvenience that I've caused you. Have a great day.
You as well.
Man, Unfortunately, sometimes the information we have for older adults in the Claremont area is not completely up to date, and some of the people you are trying to call may have recently passed away. This may cause you to find yourself in an awkward situation. The one thing to remember in a situation like this is that you really had no way of knowing the older adult had passed away, and it is not your fault. Make sure to remain respectful while speaking with whomever answers the phone, and if it really starts to feel uncomfortable, end the call as soon as you can. After the call, make sure to remove the older adult from the database so the same mistake is not repeated in the future. Alright, Mr. Peters, welcome. This is our psychology lab.
My, what a wonderful laboratory.
Yes, this is the head of our lab, Dr. Umanath.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
So we're going to have you set up over in room B over there, so why don't I just show you in?
Go in.
Once you've successfully led the older adult into the lab, the hardest part of your job is really over. Basically, when the older adult is already in the lab, your biggest job is just damage control. So, for example, if the older adult comes in and they need to use the restroom or they're thirsty, just let them know where the facilities are. And if they need to use the facilities during the test, it's okay to let them take a break and pause the test. So let's take a look at some of the more drastic things that could possibly go wrong.
Excuse me, I need some help in here.
Yes, Mr. Peters, hello. How can I help you?
What the devil are you trying to do to my brain in here? This is not what I was expecting at all. The other times I've ran tests, they've been straightforward, but this one's so confusing. I want to go now. I refuse to continue.
Mr. Peters, I'm very sorry to hear that you're not having a great experience here in our lab. Is there anything I can do? Maybe we can take a break and then you can try again in a few minutes?
I really have no desire to continue with this horrible experiment. I want to leave now.
Okay, well that's just fine. It's perfectly within your rights to leave whenever you would like. Let me just give you some compensation.
So scenarios like this are actually very rare. Usually when the older adult has a question, you just need to tell them to press the space bar and move on to the next part of the study. However, if something like this does happen, the correct response is to compensate them and get them out of the lab as quickly as possible. In the consent form, it does state that the participant can stop the study at any time. So if this does actually happen to you, just make sure to compensate them and get them back to their car. After every experiment we run with an older adult, we always administer a mini mental state exam, or MMSE. This exam is simple, but it ensures the validity of our results. So the biggest problem that might arise with this test is that older adults are insulted by its simplicity. But in order to circumvent this problem, just make sure that you keep a positive and casual manner throughout. Here's an example of how to correctly run an MMSE. Go.
Alright, Mr. Peters, great job in the experiment today. We really appreciated you taking all the time and energy to come in and visit us here in the lab today. Before I can get you out of here though, I do just have one more set of questions that I have to go through with you. Now some of these questions might sound a little simple or on the easier side, but I do have to ask them, so just bear with me for a few minutes. Okay, so let's start off with when is it? What year is it currently?
2018.
Great. And how about the date? What is the date of the month?
March 6th.
Perfect, perfect. And what day of the week is it today?
Monday.
Nice. And I know we are in Southern California, so it is hard to tell sometimes, but what season is it currently?
Spring.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So where are we? What state are we currently in?
California.
And what country?
United States.
What city are we in?
Claremont.
And what is the name of the building you're inside of?
I have no idea.
It's the Bauer Center. It's a good one though. But you might know this though. Which floor of the building are we in?
The basement.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So now I want you to repeat after me the phrase ball, flag, and tree.
Ball, flag, tree.
Perfect. Okay. So now I want you to start counting backwards, starting at 100 by every 7th number.
93, 86, 79, 72, 65.
Great. Okay, I'll stop you there. Well done. What were the names of the 3 objects that I had you just repeat after me?
Ball, flag, and tree.
Nailed it. Well done. All right, Mr. Peters, I'm just going to point to an object and you're going to tell me what its name is, okay? So let's start with this. What is this?
Watch.
All right, great. And what is this?
A pen.
Perfect. Nailed it. Okay, so now I want you to repeat after me the phrase, no ifs, ands, or buts.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Well done. Well done, sir. Okay, so now your task is, I want you to take this sheet of paper and fold it in half so that you can still see the diagram on top and place it on the desk in front of you. Perfect. Now, I want you to take this sheet of paper and follow the direction on that sheet of paper. Perfect. Well done. You can open your eyes now. All right. Finally, I want you to, with this pen on the bottom side of this sheet, I want you to write out a sentence of your own choice. It should contain a subject and an object, but other than that, you can write about whatever you would like. Perfect. All right. And then one last thing for you here. I want you to put these 2 sheets of paper side by side with the diagram and then the blank part of this one. And I want you to do your best to recreate that design on this sheet of paper. All right, that looks great. We're all set here, Mr. Peters. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Peters, thank you very much for coming in and participating in our study today. You did a great job, and looks like you made it out in one piece. So here, let's get you paid. Here's your $20 for coming into the study today.
Goodness me, I can't accept that. You would make much better use of it than I would.
Oh, Mr. Peters, no, I really can't accept this. It's against our lab policy for me to accept that. But please, go spend that on lunch with friends or family or something. But if I could just have you sign and date this receipt form, that would help us out a lot. Also, if you are interested, here's a pamphlet from the NIH on memory in general and on forgetfulness. You know, we have this information available for each older adult who comes into our lab. So you know, just in case you're curious about learning a little bit more, that's all yours.
Thank you very much. And in terms of learning more about the study?
In terms of results of the study.
Yes.
So the way that our psychology lab is set up is we do not have individual results to report to each person who comes into the lab. However, our results are pooled amongst all participants who come into the lab. So we will have a newsletter available that we can send out to you with some of the more general conclusions from our study. But your personal results, unfortunately, are not going to be recorded.
That sounds great. I'm excited to learn about memory.
Oh, well, I'm happy to hear that. Why don't I show you up to your car?
Thank you.